The disappearance of Natalee Holloway on May 30, 2005, during a senior class trip to Aruba, triggered a mystery that continues to stir public intrigue 2 decades later. At just 18 years old, Natalee vanished after a night out at Carlos and Charlie's nightclub, her bright future suddenly extinguished under chilling circumstances. Despite initial investigations, suspicions, and arrests, her remains were never recovered, leaving her family trapped in a cycle of grief and unanswered questions. Central to the case was Joran van der Sloot, a young Dutch national last seen with Natalee, whose shifting narratives and legal entanglements deepened the mystery. Private investigator T.J. Ward, hired by the Holloway family shortly after her disappearance, remains convinced that van der Sloot didn't act alone. Ward, who worked with a voice analysis firm based in Israel, utilized their technology on archived interviews to detect deception in van der Sloot's early statements. The analysis indicated significant dishonesty, prompting further investigation and the pursuit of new witnesses to piece together what really happened on that fateful night. Authorities initially arrested van der Sloot and the Hollway brothers, who were also seen with Natalee that night. But all were released due to insufficient evidence. Repeated efforts by Aruban law enforcement to hold the suspects were thwarted by a lack of conclusive proof, allowing the case to grow colder by the year. Meanwhile, Ward and the Holloways persisted, chasing every lead and clue that could point toward the truth behind Natalee's vanishing. 5 years after Natalee's disappearance, van der Sloot was again in the spotlight, this time for the murder of 21-year-old Stephanie Flores in Peru. Flores' killing occurred exactly 5 years to the day after Natalee's disappearance, reigniting speculation about van der Sloot's capacity for violence. He later confessed to killing Flores in a hotel room, claiming rage overtook him after she discovered his past connection to the Holloway case. The murder in Peru painted a disturbing pattern, aligning with theories that Natalee may have met a similarly violent end. Legal repercussions followed swiftly in Peru, where van der Sloot was sentenced to prison, though questions about his role in Natalee's death remained unresolved. In 2010, he resurfaced in the U.S. legal system, not for murder, but for attempting to extort Natalee's mother by offering false information about her daughter's body. Van der Sloot demanded $250,000 in exchange for allegedly disclosing Natalee's burial site, ultimately accepting $25,000 in a sting operation organized by the FBI. Rather than providing closure, the encounter only added cruelty, as he later admitted the story he sold was a fabrication for profit. Despite this manipulation, Beth Holloway and her legal team pressed forward, driven by a desire to secure justice, no matter the cost. Years of anguish followed, but the Holloway family never gave up on uncovering the full truth behind Natalee's fate. By 2023, nearly 20 years after Natalee's disappearance, Joran van der Sloot finally delivered a confession that shook the case, but failed to erase its ambiguities. In a chilling interview with federal agents, he recounted how he attacked Natalee with a brick and discarded her body in the ocean, under the cover of night. His brutal admission was graphic and void of remorse, describing her crushed face in disturbing detail, even in the darkness of the beach. Though the confession aligned with some long-held suspicions, many, including P.I. T.J. Ward, doubted that van der Sloot carried out the crime entirely on his own. Ward has consistently pointed to inconsistencies and other possible participants, suggesting a more complex web of involvement beyond a lone killer. This belief stems from interviews, local observations, and the behavior of witnesses who never fully disclosed what they knew at the time. Van der Sloot's shifting stories over the years have bred deep mistrust, leaving many to wonder if he still conceals the identities of those who helped him. While van der Sloot claimed he acted out of rage after being rejected, Ward believes the violence was not spontaneous, but enabled by others nearby. The Hollway brothers, once considered suspects, have long maintained their innocence, though doubts about their exact role continue to linger. Despite numerous interrogations and legal proceedings, they were never convicted or conclusively linked to Natalee's murder. The absence of physical evidence over the years has been a major hurdle in building a solid case against anyone besides Sloot. Natalee's parents, particularly her mother Beth, have lived with the torment of never recovering her body or knowing exactly what happened in her final moments. Her determination in pursuing truth and justice transformed her into a national figure of resilience, advocacy, and relentless maternal strength. When Sloot stood before Judge Anna Manasco in 2023, the courtroom fell silent as his crimes, past and present, were read aloud. Manasco condemned him not only for the murders but also for the manipulation and emotional torment he inflicted through his extortion plot. His actions, she said, exploited a grieving family for financial gain while never intending to offer them closure or honesty. The plea deal struck between Sloot and federal prosecutors granted him limited immunity for the confession. Still, it was a calculated move to obtain a formal admission from him in a case that had been unresolved for nearly 2 decades. In her victim impact statement, Beth Holloway looked directly at her daughter's killer and expressed the emotional destruction he had caused. "You look like hell," she said with raw intensity, reminding him that no amount of legal maneuvering could shield him from what he had done. Though a confession now exists, the Holloway family remains haunted by the lack of finality and the possibility that others escaped accountability. Private investigator T.J. Ward continues his work behind the scenes, driven by the conviction that the full truth has yet to emerge. He remains in frequent contact with Natalee's father, Dave Holloway, who refuses to abandon the search for definitive answers. Together, they comb through old leads and interview reluctant witnesses, hoping that time has softened the silence that once cloaked the island. Ward believes that someone who was on the beach that night knows more than they've admitted, and he's determined to find them. Despite the passage of 20 years, modern forensic tools and psychological profiling continue to offer hope for new breakthroughs. Aruban authorities have faced international scrutiny for their early handling of the case, and many believe missed opportunities allowed Sloot to walk free for too long. Forensic divers, satellite imaging, and voice stress analysis are now being used to re-examine previously overlooked evidence and statements. Several local witnesses who once withheld information due to fear or loyalty may now be more willing to speak with the passage of time. Beth Holloway has encouraged them, through public appeals, asking for compassion, closure, and the truth her daughter deserves. Media interest in the case remains strong, with documentaries and investigative specials reigniting public curiosity and prompting new tips. Each new interview or confession clip triggers online speculation, where amateur sleuths and true crime communities revisit every detail. The internet has become a new kind of witness stand, amplifying theories while sometimes clouding facts with rumors and hearsay. Still, for the Holloways, hope lies not in sensational headlines, but in concrete verifiable evidence that could finally lead to recovery. Ward has described the search as unfinished business, a mission he intends to complete regardless of how long it takes. He's revisiting old locations on the island where suspicious activity was once reported, believing something vital may have been missed. Though Sloot will spend decades behind bars, Ward insists the case should not be considered closed until every question is answered. This includes determining who, if anyone, helped dispose of Natalee's body and whether elements of the confession were intentionally misleading. Some experts suggest that even in confessing, Sloot may be manipulating the narrative to protect others or himself from further consequence. As long as those uncertainties remain, Natalee's story will persist as both a warning and a symbol of enduring pursuit for justice. 2 decades later, Natalee Holloway's name still echoes in the hearts of those who followed her story, a haunting reminder of the fragility of youth and the strength of family. Her disappearance reshaped how missing persons cases were viewed, especially those involving young women abroad, leading to greater public awareness and advocacy. Beth Holloway's tireless efforts turned personal tragedy into a mission that gave voice to countless other families with missing loved ones. In the courtroom and on the airwaves, Her resilience stood as a counterforce to the cruelty that tried to silence her daughter's story. Joran van der Sloot, now confined in a Peruvian prison, awaits extradition to the United States, where he'll begin serving another sentence, this time on U.S. soil. For Beth, his imprisonment may be a form of justice, but not closure, because closure requires truth, accountability, and peace. Ward continues his search for answers with unrelenting focus, convinced that pieces of the puzzle still lie buried in silence. The Holloway case has become more than a crime story. It's a cultural marker of the dangers that can lurk behind charm and the persistence of evil masked as youth. Its legacy is found not just in news archives but in classrooms, crime podcasts, and legal reforms shaped by its lessons. To this day, no official memorial marks Natalee's final resting place. But her legacy lives on in every parent's cautionary tale. But emotionally, it served as both a dagger and a door, one that opens to deeper questions. The truth he offered was tainted by manipulation, leaving investigators and loved ones questioning what was real and what was rehearsed. Still, for many, hearing him admit guilt was a turning point, the moment where lies finally gave way to something resembling justice. Yet the ocean that swallowed Natalee's body still holds its secrets, waves crashing where answers remain elusive, but not forgotten. If Ward is right, and others were involved, then this case isn't a closed file, it's an open wound, still demanding the truth. Every year on May 30th, candles flicker in Natalee's memory, symbolizing the light she brought into the world, and the darkness that took her away. Her story continues not only through legal documents and confessions, but in every effort made to ensure that no other young woman suffers a similar fate. As the Holloway family marks 20 years without Natalee, the fight for truth is no longer just personal. It's universal, it's generational, and it's far from over. And so we remember Natalee Holloway, not only for the tragedy that took her, but for the legacy of courage and persistence that remains. Thanks for watching this deep dive into the Natalee Holloway case. If you found this story compelling, make sure to like, share, and subscribe for more true crime breakdowns. And don't forget to hit the notification bell so you never miss an upload. Stay curious, stay safe, and always question the silence.